Good day, everyone. I am Tara Henry Como Barloa. I will be presenting the continuation of our report, which is the decision making process. So, let's start. According to David Holt, decision making is a process involving the following steps. There are eight steps. So, the first one is the diagnose problem, second, analyze environment, third, articulate problem, fourth, develop viable alternatives, fifth, evaluate alternatives, sixth, make a choice, seventh, implement decision, and eighth, evaluate and adapt decision results. The first step is diagnose the problem. So, in our organization, it is very impossible that we don't have a problem. Even in a small or a bigger organization, from time to time, we will meet a problem or we will have a problem. So, in this step, you have to discuss or diagnose what is the problem of the organization. So, the given example is the if the manager wants to make an intelligent decision, his first move must to identify the problem. So in the diagnose problem, you must identify what is the problem in that certain organization. So after diagnosing the problem, next is to analyze the environment. In analyzing the environment, we should know first the environment and its components. So the two components of the environment is the internal and external. So the internal is within the organization, so within sa sulod, inside the organization, while the external is the outside of the organization. So let's discuss first the internal. So under the internal is the organizational aspect. So first, under the organizational aspect is the policies, procedures, rules, and ability of management. Next one is the marketing aspect. So under the marketing aspect is the product strategy and promotional strategy. Next is the financial aspects. Say financial, talks about money. So under of it is the liquidity and profitability of an organization. Next is the production aspect. So under the production aspect, it is the plant facility layout and inventory control. So it is under materials, stocks of materials, sa pa ba? Planta. So lastly, the personnel aspect. So under the personnel aspect is the recruitment practices and incentive systems. Let's move on to the external. So these are the factors outside the engineering firm. So we have here the government, the labor unions, suppliers, banks, the public or the people, competitors, clients, especially the clients, of course, and the engineers. So the next step is to articulate the problem. In articulating the problem, you should discuss the problem with the members of the organization, like the engineers, the co-engineers, or the construction workers, with your members. Discuss the problem and discuss how you will gather data and information for future references, or how you will gather solutions to the problem. After articulating the problem, next is you have to develop viable alternatives. So, in constructing new alternatives, first is to prepare the list of your solutions. You have to list out or jot down the possible solutions to your problems. Next is to identify the solutions where viable. It means you need to identify if this solution can solve the problem in the organization, or it can arise bigger problems in the future. You need to think first, or you need to identify if it's a good solution or a bad solution. Lastly, revise the list or review it and strike out the non-viable, because always consider the best alternative solution. Next is to evaluate the alternatives. It is very important to properly assess the alternatives after you figure out the viability of it. So, evaluating alternatives depends on the nature of the problem, company's objectives, and nature of the provided alternatives. So, why we need assessment? Ang proper assessment ng God, it can make choice making less difficult since it was properly assessed. Next is make a choice. So choice making refers to the practice of choosing between the alternatives that constitute possible solutions to a problem. So after nimo ma-determine ang variability sa alternatives or the solutions, and after natong ma-properly assess ni, it is time to make a choice. Next step is the implementation of the decision. So implementation, the other hand, refers to carrying out of the decision that the objective sought will be achieved. But remember, if nana mo aning stage, in the implementation stage, resources must already be available of this stage. Mga resources, mga data na mag-gather nimo, dapat available na ani nga stage. And those who will be involved in the implementation must be understand and support the solution. So the last stage is to evaluate and adapt decision results. In this last stage of decision-making process, the engineer manager will find out whether the desired outcome was accomplished. So, if dili nila na kuan ang outcome, or wala sila na mali ilang para solution, wala nila na kuan sa goal, they can repeat the whole process until they can get the result or the solution to their problem. So in order to ensure the performance and to provide information for future references, the engineer managers uses different mechanisms such as feedback. Feedback requires checking of each stage of the process, and control, where steps taken to ensure that tasks are still focused in acquiring the goal.